Good morning, members of the Committee on Zoning. Please come to order. I would like to invite and welcome our committee members. Councilmember Cordero will be here very shortly. She's stuck in traffic, and I think DTS should be aware of the traffic that we have on Punch Bowl. Mr. Chair, did you get that message? Tell DTS to fix the traffic at Punch Bowl and Vineyard. We have Councilmember Kiana and Councilmember Wire, who is present. And there are no other members who are here in the council chambers at this point in time. Council Vice Chair DeSantos Tam is excused from today's meeting. Okay. Although remote oral testimony is being permitted, this is a regular in-person meeting and not a remote meeting by interactive conference technology under the Hawaii Revised Statute, Section 92-3.7. Therefore, the meeting will continue notwithstanding loss of audiovisual communication with remote testifiers or loss of the public broadcast of the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda in two ways. One is by remote control, and the second one is the in-person in the council chamber. Oral testimony will be allowed when each agenda item is taken up in the following order. Remote testimony, once more, remote testimony number one, and then the in-person testimony in the council chamber. Before testifying, each person shall state their full name and the agenda item they are testifying on. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation per item. All persons who are registered to testify remotely by video conference or phone will be called upon first. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. The following are some friendly reminders and tips. Video conference from a very quiet location if possible. If you are watching the proceedings on Olelo, please mute your device at the time you are called to testify. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. For those who are joining us by telephone only, please press star 9 to indicate your desire to speak. I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When your number is called, please press star 6 to unmute yourself when prompted. Once all the remote testifiers have testified, I will proceed to the in-person testimony in the council chamber. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to speak following the oral testimonies of the registered speakers also. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy to all, please turn off all cell phones. Okay, members, moving on to agenda item number 1, Resolution 24-202. This resolution amends Resolution 22-226, Committee Draft 1, to extend the deadline to commence construction of the Kalemao Village 201H project, located at 91-1400 Renton Road in Eva Beach, identified as tax map key 9-1-122:004. The Kalemao Village 201H project was formerly known as the West Lock Affordable Rental Housing Project, and it involves 7 3-story multi-family dwellings containing 127 affordable rental units, a community center, a residential amenities, and 136 off-street parking spaces, 1 loading space, and 98 bicycle parking spaces. The applicant has requested a 12-month extension of the October 5th, 2024 deadline to commence construction of the project to allow more time to obtain construction financing and applicable building permits. Members, we have posted to the agenda a proposed Committee Draft 1 version of the resolution, and for your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda. The Committee Draft 1 sets forth the progress the applicant has demonstrated to date in developing the project, which includes the receipt of the financing awards such as the private activity bonds, the low-income housing tax credits, and the rental housing revolving monies. They are submitting a building permit application and the related plans to the Department of Planning and Permitting. And 3, working with a lender to secure project financing, and pursuing Section 221D4 mortgage insurance from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. At this time, joining us in the council chamber, we have Mr. Ren Kimura and Kaloa Robinson from Sanford Car Development LLC, who will be providing a brief description. For your information, the presentation is available online as Miscellaneous Communication 378 of 2024. Mr. Kimura, or Mr. Robinson, Kaloa. Please proceed.
Good morning, Chair.
Hold on, Mr. Robinson. Our late guest who is here is Councilmember Radiant Cordero, who got stuck in traffic on Punch Bowl and Vineyard, right? I just saw it in the traffic camera. No, I didn't see you. We just heard you're stuck in traffic. Okay, Mr. Robinson.
Good morning, Chair, and members of the committee. It's a pleasure to be here. And congratulations, Chair, on all of your service. I'm looking forward to maybe one more time before this committee, before you're gone.
Let's not celebrate anything yet. I've got 4 more months to go, okay?
Yes, sir, as you say. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Stanford sends his regrets. Unfortunately, we couldn't get him off the plane in time to be here, but you've got me instead. My name is Kaloa Robinson. I'm a senior project manager with Stanford Car Development. Here with me today is Ren Kimura, who is the project manager for the Kalei-Ma'o Village development, which is a collaboration between the city's Department of Land Management under the stewardship of Director Tashner and Komohale Ventures, which is a joint venture between Stanford Car Development and Standard Communities, originally purposed for acquiring and rehabilitating the 1,221 unit state portfolio that we purchased from the state in 2019. Most recently, that same joint venture also acquired and preserved the affordable housing of Mauna Kea Tower to keep that affordable for another 65 to 75 years. Today, that joint venture is here before you today to request an extension to the deadline to commence construction from our 201H resolution. We are very, very, very close. And without further ado is my colleague, Project Manager Ren Kimura, to apprise you of our status. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robinson. Mr. Kimura, please.
Thank you, Kaloa. Good morning, Chair Say and council members. We wanted to start by sharing with you all a brief timeline and background of Kalei-Ma'o Village. In May of 2019, the City and County of Honolulu's Department of Land Management issued an RFP for the lease and development of a parcel located in Ewa. In January of 2020, the City and County of Honolulu notified the applicant of its intent to negotiate a development contract, which was later executed in April of 2021. The City Council authorized certain exemptions pursuant to Chapter 201H of the Hawaii Revised Statutes in October of 2022 through the adoption of Resolution 22-226 CD1. In October of 2023, Kalei-Ma'o Village was awarded private activity bonds by the City and County of Honolulu, and later that year was awarded low-income housing tax credits and rental housing revolving fund monies by HHFDC. The project site is roughly 3.7 acres and located at the corners of Fort Weaver and Renton Roads, and is about 2 miles makai of Queens Medical Center of West Oahu. Kalei-Ma'o Village will consist of 7 3-story residential buildings for a total of 127 units and will provide ample parking for its residents. The project will consist of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units and will serve households who earn up to 60% of the area median income. For reference, today, this means that households who earn up to roughly $29,000 per year will pay $783 per month for a one-bedroom unit, and families who earn up to roughly $90,000 per year will pay $2,172 for a three-bedroom unit, inclusive of utilities. Kalema'o Village will include a community center located in the middle of the project site, which will feature a laundry room, kitchen area, and a community room where residents can gather and socialize. The project's garden-style design and earth tone colors will complement and blend with the surrounding Ewa community. Kalema'o Village will offer its residents an array of amenities. The development will provide residents a community garden, bicycle storage, and a playground area. We anticipate to have permits issued by the end of the third quarter of this year and look to close financing and commence construction in Q4. We thank you again, Chair Say and council members, for your time and for your review of our request for a 12-month extension. We welcome any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kimura. Are there any questions for the applicant's representative? Please, okay. Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Mr. Kimura. I was just wondering if you could reiterate the purpose for the need for the 12-month extension, please.
So the original commencement date deadline for the prior resolution is set to expire October 4th, I believe, of 2024. Right now, we anticipate to close beyond that date. As a result, we're requesting a 12-month extension. In hindsight, we believe the initial 24-month request may have been 4 months too aggressive. And in an abundance of caution, we're requesting a 12-month extension in case of any sort of delays that may be out of our control. But please note that our teams are working very diligently to close by the end of this year.
Thank you. Mr. Kimura, then after you receive the go-ahead, what would then the timeline be to continue moving the project forward?
Sorry, Councilmember, could you repeat your question, please?
What would the timeline be after you receive all the permits and everything?
So right now we're looking at roughly an 18-month construction period. So once we are issued our building and grading permits, we intend to close as quickly as possible and commence construction in Q4 of this year. And from that point, we're working with our general contractor to make sure we can complete Kalema'o Village within an 18-month time period.
Okay, thank you. And I also really like the buffers that are provided around the property that are next to the Renton Road as well as Fort Weaver Road. Would you be able to share if this was a requirement or if this is an added benefit by the project?
The existing landscaping, as you mentioned, Councilmember, is to buffer out the noise of the surrounding neighborhoods and street traffic. This landscaping plan was provided by our consultants, and we're hoping that this would satisfy the city and county of Honolulu's Department of Planning and Permitting street tree planting plan. So we're working with them cohesively to ensure that the existing landscape plan will satisfy the street tree planting plan requirement.
Thank you. I also recognize that there's more along, there's bigger canopy coverage over Fort Weaver Road as opposed to Renton. And I was wondering if you anticipate putting further buffers along Renton.
Not at this time, but that's something that we can discuss within our teams.
And the reason why I ask this is because I want to look for further canopy coverage in future developments. And so I was just wondering, is there a reason for the difference on canopy coverage on Renton Road in comparison to Fort Weaver Road?
I believe the existing landscaping design was to blend with what is currently there. And at this time, we can find more information for you on the selection of these certain plants and trees and provide that to you separately, Councilmember.
Okay, thank you. And another thing that I'm sure is of concern for all the communities, but especially in this area is the high speeds at some particular points of the day. And I was wondering if the design of the project is also done so in a way, because I do see that there's buildings off of Fort Weaver Road and of course Renton Road, how you can mitigate traffic or even cause for possible crashes along both sides of the roads. And I know that there's a buffer there with the green space and trees, but did you consider further buffers for the project?
Throughout the design process, we consulted with our traffic consultants to understand the existing traffic conditions. As part of the original 218 resolution, we also had to submit a traffic management plan, which was recently approved by the traffic review branch that incorporated pedestrian circulation for residents.
Okay, thank you. I know that the regular traffic mitigation plan, as well as looking at the other modes of transportation, but I do think that we need to account for the high speeds that occur on these different roadways. So I just wanted to make that point for this project as well as for the future, but especially on this road. I know that there's a lot of crashes that occur here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you very much. Members, any other questions for Mr. Kimura? Mr. Kimura, could you restate the 18-month time frame that you're talking about?
Yeah, so we're looking to, from the start of commencement of construction, we're looking at approximately 18 months to finish the construction of Kalemao Village.
Okay. You know, it seems like for us here at the council that it would be 6 years before a project that is initiated by the City and County of Honolulu will be completed. Within that 6 years, what do you feel were some of the obstacles that we could address in, cutting back these type of obstacles? What I'm getting at, wow, 6 years, this is a city and county property. We did a request for proposal in, 2019? Was it 2019, the request for proposal? And only now, 2024, which is 5 years later, we're still going through this permitting process or planning process. The only point I'm trying to make is that if there are obstacles that you feel that we could try to address at the city council level for city properties developed by private developers, that would be very beneficial. Okay?
Thank you, Councilmember. Unfortunately, my introduction to this project came after the issuance of the RFP, but it's been a complete collaboration and a team effort with all of the City and County of Honolulu's agencies. And as you mentioned, although the RFP was issued in May of 2019, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, that did also pose certain delays. But please know that all teams, all agencies involved, we've been working together to bring Kalemao to fruition.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions for Mr. Kimura? And just one final thought, congratulations in getting the private activity bonds, the light tech, and the rental housing revolving fund funds to be a part of their financial plan in saying that this project becomes affordable. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Kimura? Councilmember Okimoto, I'd like to introduce you to the general public at large and the people who are here to testify. Would you like to say anything at this point? This is the Eva Beach project that the city is doing. Okay, if there is none, members, we can call up Mr. Gallagher. Brian, Liz?
Good morning, Chair and committee members. The Department of Planning and I'm Elizabeth Krieger, Department of Planning and Permitting. The DPP supports the project, supports the extension request, and is supportive of the CD1. And I have Jordan Dildy here if you have any questions about the project. Thank you.
Members, any questions for Liz or Mr. Jordan? Jordan? Any questions, please? If not, Okay, thank you. At this point in time, Madam Clerk, are there any remote testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we have one standing by.
Okay, who do we have? Oh, Miss Angela Young, please. Please.
Aloha, City Council. Angela Melody Young on behalf of Affairs and strong support. So I'm going to testify in strong support for the Stanford Car development in Eva Beach District because they're great developers. And so the developer, as the council mentioned in prior hearings, something along these lines, it is ideally a good developer to work with to set up design, housing, and average median income limits and requirements for development for other developers to copy and to abide by to their standards. So, for example, this building is really amazing, and Bolodrome, the first of its kind of Hawaiian homesteads building in town, it's been in a portfolio since the mid-1900s. That was a long time ago, and it was a hot topic at first. And then it died down, but I have to talk about it since we're on a public platform. I want the entire city and state to hear me, across the state, all the people in the community to hear what a great
Ms. Young,
development that is.
thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. I see you're on Heart, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I'm on the bus. I'm on the way to the
Okay,
council.
thank you. Thank you for supporting the Skyliner. Okay. Oh, you're on the bus. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, members, any questions for Ms. Young? If there is no questions for Ms. Young, Madam Clerk, is there anyone else standing by remotely to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. At this point in time, we'll proceed with the in-person testimony. Do we have any in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, doke. Members, we are in discussion. If there is no discussion, the chair recommends that Resolution 24-202 be amended to the Committee Draft 1 posted on the agenda. Are there any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a Committee Draft 1. The chair then recommends that the Resolution 24-202 Committee Draft 1 be reported out for adoption. Any discussions, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you very much for the developers, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Gimora. You have added another, how many units, members? 100, 120, 127 to that. Is it, Mr. Chair? How many are we short? 22,000? No? Yes? Okay. We're debiting it slowly but surely, but thank you very much for this project. Let's move on to agenda number 2, Resolution 24-204. This resolution authorizes the Director of Design and Construction or the Director's authorized representative to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the City and the United States Department of the Army for the Wailupi Stream Watershed Study and authorizes the Director of Budget and Fiscal Services to expend funds to undertake the study. At this point in time, we're very privileged and honored to have Mr. Haku Milis, Director of the Department of Design and Construction.
Good morning, Committee Chair, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members. Haku Milis, Director for the Department of Design and Construction. I want to thank you for your consideration of this resolution. This is a significant project out in Wailupe that could hopefully turn into a construction project that will improve flood conditions out there. So I am here for any questions, but again, I thank you for your consideration and ask that this is adopted out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Milis. Any questions from the testifiers? From members of the council, that is. Well, there's no questions, Mr. Milis. Thank you, but just stand by. Yeah, okay, later on I'll ask my questions. At this point in time, let's proceed with the remote testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any remote testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we have two standing by.
Okay, First, we have Ms. Jean Ota. Hi, Ms. Ota. Please
Good
proceed.
morning, Chair Shea and members of the committee. My name is Jeannie Ota. I'm president of the Ainahina Community Association. Residents in Ainahana have been seeking solutions to flooding of Wailupe Stream since the 1960s. I've been personally involved in seeking solutions since the year 2000. And we have had many studies conducted since the 1960s. So the question is, why would we need another study? The reason I believe we need one is because the stream has changed even since 2018. The boulders that used to be behind my home are no longer there. I don't know where they went, but they were huge boulders. Also, there was significant stream bank erosion, and there was a lot of damage into the lower portion of the stream, which has not been studied. So I'm asking for your support and to vote for this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions for Ms. Ota from the Ainahina Community Association? Thank you very much for your testimony. Members, may we proceed on to Mr. Chris Kramer. Mr. Kramer, are you here?
Yes. Aloha, Chair Say and council members. I am also live on the Wailupe Stream and affected by previous flooding. And I just wanted to oppose this resolution in its current form. It doesn't put any language to consult community members or Native Hawaiians that have generational knowledge and expert knowledge. The stream is used for fishing and gathering for generations, and this resolution is strictly looking at flood control. And if you look at all the other valleys in the Honolulu Bay area, they've all been channelized and turned into concrete with graffiti, and they're just nothing living in those streams now. So we ask you to amend the language to include consultation with Native Hawaiians and recreational and subsistence fishermen. Also, improving the language so that you have opportunities right now to do things that don't cost money, which is don't allow monster homes and building right in the setback. I mean, it's basic common sense, but the city is approving development right up against the stream, and then we got to bail out these monster home builders and folks that are building right up against the stream. So that's you have opportunities that are available, and those should be explored from right off the bat.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kramer, did you submit written comments as far as the statements that you have made so that we could follow up with your questions?
Yeah, I did, and I also wanted to mention that the raw sewage that fills the stream with thousands and thousands of gallons coming out of the manholes, there's currently a project to address that with the environmental services. And so going to the Army, maybe, I mean, that affects part of the stream, but the city already has a project to address the sewage spills that have been ongoing for decades. So that needs to be looked at as well, or included in this resolution to include environmental services.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, any questions for Mr. Kramer? No questions? Okay. Mr. Millies, Director, would you like to respond to some of the questions posed by Mr. Kramer, since it's not written, so we have to just remember what the questions were that was posed?
Yeah, I can appreciate where he's coming from for sure. We went through a planning process for the Alawai watershed flood control project where we considered significant community input, and I think there were 13 or 14 engagement opportunities with the community. At this point, for the resolution, I'm not sure those details should or need to be included at this point. I'm not an expert on these legal documents per se, but it's the responsibility of my department to work with the Army Corps and see what can be done, what should be considered, what the scope of the project needs to be. There are limitations of what we can use funding for specifically, but we want to create a successful project, and that doesn't just mean reducing flooding. So those kinds of ideas need to be considered across the board, and things that we will share with the Army Corps, provided that we proceed with this feasibility study. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Mr. Kramer, your testimony, the written and oral testimony, has been incorporated in our journal of the Council Zoning Committee, meaning they would have to make reference to what you have stated for the record this morning, and they will look into it. And probably, if this particular authorization goes through, they'll probably contact the community association. So I would recommend that as a private citizen, you can also contact Ms. Jean Ota of the Aina Community Association, who is the president, if I'm not mistaken. Chair Waters, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Director. Just following up on what Councilmember said and what Mr. Kramer talked about, I note that in the resolution, there is an attachment marked Exhibit A with the agreement between the Department of the Army and the City and County of Honolulu. It doesn't look like the agreement has been signed yet, or has it been signed? Hasn't been signed yet. So what needs to be amended in order to accommodate what the community is asking? Would that be the resolution or the agreement?
I believe it would need to be the agreement. I apologize. We were trying to have the Army Corps available to be able to answer questions on this. Unfortunately, they weren't able to be here. I'm not sure if they are online, but they were gonna try. So our legal agreements with the Corps and the negotiations that go into that are pretty strict, from what I understand. And I'm not a lawyer. This is something that we have our corporation counsel work with the Army Corps lawyers on. And so unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you on getting that type of verbiage included right now. But something we can discuss with our Corp Counsel and with the Army Corps, and certainly get back to you on. Thank you.
Okay, I mean, knowing you as I do, that you do take what the community is saying seriously. So can I get a commitment from you that you would consult the Wailupe neighborhood, especially the homeowners abutting the stream, consult them and work with them in coming up with any solution that you and Army Corps comes up with?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. And I absolutely will do what I can, what I need to make sure that the Army Corps understands the community's needs and wants with the scope that goes into this feasibility study. And just kind of as a reminder to everybody, this is really the first step. We're not moving towards any kind of design or construction just yet. This is evaluation of the stream, and looking at potential solutions that should be considered to potentially move forward into design and construction. And so that's kind of where we are, and the input from the community, to me, is a very important part of that planning process. So thank you.
I appreciate that. And just for the other members' information, the Aina community has been dealing with this stream, Wailupe stream, and needing it to be cleaned on a regular basis. And then there was a huge flood a few years ago where the stream overflowed and damaged a bunch of homes. Then the city spent a considerable amount of money on the Malka version of the stream, shoring up the sides. And one of the things that we talked about was perhaps continuing that type of work all the way down until you get to the ocean. There's some community members who were advocating for cementing the whole thing, but I don't think the community is ready for that just yet. So what we're talking about here is a study to see the viability of different options, right? Just to be clear. And this authorizes you to kick in a little bit of money, matching what the Army Corps does. So really appreciate it. And thank you, Chair, for having this hearing in a timely manner.
Okay. Mr. Kramer, does that, satisfy your concerns at this point in time? You can unmute yourself, yeah. Would the statements made by the director and Chair Waters suffice as far as addressing your concerns at this point in time?
Yeah, I would also add the fishers and users of Mauna Bay, because this is the lifeline. So we're talking about doing things, those constituencies need to be included, not just the residents on the stream.
Okay. Ms. Ota, your thoughts as far as what Mr. Kramer has stated? Jeannie, you have any thoughts about what Mr. Kramer has stated as far as his testimony?
So I agree with him. I don't want to happen to us what happened to Manoa, where the residents were surprised at what was created by the Army Corps. And as my written testimony mentions, we've had mixed results with the Army Corps in the past. I've been involved for almost 25 years. And it's not the easiest agency to work with, especially in a collaborative manner. And then I think the council should know that Malama Mauna Lua, who works with issues around the bay, they have a NOAA grant that is it's a ridge to reef project, including Wailupe and other streams on the east side of Oahu. So definitely, because we're concerned about water quality in the bay, that the Army Corps should and the DDC should consult with Malama Mauna Lua as well as the residents in Wailupe Valley. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ota. Any further questions from the members, please? Well, Mr. Milley's director, any thoughts at this point for Ms. Ota?
I will share that we have met with them about the project that they are proposing, myself and other members of the cabinet and the administration. And so we were trying to work and coordinate of how that project can get done. And to be honest, the likelihood is that project will be implemented before any kind of design or construction would come along for involving this study. But I just wanted to let you know that we are working with them, and it looks like it could be a great project. So thank you for mentioning that.
No, I wanted to say thank you for your comments because, yeah, for me as a public official, it's been over 35 years trying to deal with the Alawai watershed issue from Pololo Valley to Manoa to Makiki. And we haven't finished what the plans are at this point in time. So, okay. Any other thoughts, members? If not, thank you very much. We also have, as this remote testifier, Ms. Young. Would you like to add anything more to the discussion, or in support or in opposition?
Yes, Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES, wishing to comment just relating to the environmental damage concerns, pollution, and sustainability of natural resources and water resources, that there should be consideration to collaborate and reach out to the appropriate offices that do manage and mitigate such resources and concerns, such as DLNR, which manages like coastal management and water ocean resources, and also environmental pollution. And also NOAA, the national office for flood mitigation and fisheries and sustainable management concerns. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Remember, any questions for Ms. Young? Okay, if there's no further questions, the chair has a couple for the director. The first one would be, do we need city council authorization for this agreement? That will it bind the council?
I believe that we do need authorization. I think it's because of the funding. The funding to be utilized was in a previous budget that was approved by council. And so we need to come back and be able to utilize those funds for something that wasn't in the original fiscal year 24 budget.
Okay, because I have, the other question was, the resolution provides that the 500,000 was appropriated for the project in fiscal year budget 2024. So what fund was the 500,000 taken from? And how did the department determine an additional 1 million is needed? Because of the federal match of 1.5 and 1.5.
Thank you for the question. So these Army Corps, I'll start with the kind of the total. The Army Corps feasibility studies, they allow for 2 to 3 year studies and up to $3 million to be invested. And again, this is to work towards consideration of solutions that can be moved on towards design and construction. Of the $3 million, kind of what they determine would be needed for a study, it's a 50-50 split. And so the city would be responsible for 1.5 million. The 500 that we are looking to use from fiscal year 24 came out of a flooding bulk fund. And so this is in line with the intent and what we usually use that bulk fund for, which is the improvement of flooding, reduction of flooding, hopefully. And then another $1 million to make up our 50% coming in fiscal year 26. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, any questions for Director Miliz? If not, thank you very much. Just
Thank
hold on. Members, let's proceed on to in-person testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have? Okay, please come on up, state your name. Press the button.
That one? Yeah. Hi, I'm Lucy Gaspanetich. I'm a neighbor in Ainahaina. And I had a question for Mr. Millis. How long, what's the timeline for your study?
Lucy, maybe you should ask one of our members to ask a question to the director.
Okay.
Chair Waters, would you? Okay, what's the question? You can share it with Chair Waters too. Yeah, it's okay. Go right ahead, Lucy.
Okay. Could you ask Mr. Millis how long the study will take? What's the timeline that he's thinking? Yes, I would also like to know how we could be updated on what's happening, how the study is going in the meantime while it's going on.
Okay, Chair. Mr. Millis, would you like to respond to Lucy? I didn't get your last name, and I apologize.
Gasponetich, Gospodnetich.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Councilor.
Can you have the director direct the response to you, Chair? Thank you.
Please, go right ahead. You heard the questions, you can respond.
Thank you, Chair. So these studies, typically the Army Corps makes a determination of how long they need. Usually they're 2 to 3 years. And so we'll work with them over those 2 to 3 years in this planning effort. In regards to providing updates, we would be able to work with them in order to provide updates not only to the community but also to council, keeping our administration informed of the process and the progress that we've been making with them. So So we would be responsible for that, my department.
Staff asked me, will there be a website for Lucy to look at if there's, the status every month, what's happening?
That's definitely something we can consider. I can't say for sure that we would put together a website that would be supported and manned by the Army Corps. It's something we would work on with them. In comparison to the Alawai flood control project, that one we had significant support, and the Army Corps provided additional funding to support that public-facing website and community engagement and outreach. I'm not sure they would have that level for this project. Internally, it's something that the city could consider. And so, unfortunately, I can't make a commitment to that right now. We will be able to keep the community informed, and definitely something we will look into and consider.
Lucy, did he respond to your questions? Okay. I have one question, Mr. Director Millis. Is it possible that Lucy and the Community Association, others, also contact our congressional delegation in getting a response, a status report? Okay. Did you hear my question, Lucy, my statement? If it is possible that you could contact our congressional delegation, which the U.S. Corps is funded through that they could also work in conjunction with the city to come up with a status report of every quarter, what's the project looking like, the study, etc. Okay. Is your husband going to testify also?
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Hi, I'm John, Lucy's husband. I guess the question I had was, if in the event that everybody decides to go ahead and do the, concrete encasement of the whole Wailupe stream, up down to the ocean, like down towards Hawaii Kai, that one there, I don't know the name of that one. How do you propose to do the construction, being that there's houses, basically on both sides? There's a house that's going to be built, very soon, right next to the upper portion of the overpass, right along the stream, and then there's another lot down below that is vacant right now. But I'm sure that one is, also going to be built on. So how would that construction take place?
Director, let me respond to John. Yeah, John, my thoughts are simply put.
What's that?
My thoughts are simply put, this is just the authorization.
Okay.
If they don't get the authorization from us, there is no project. So at that point, when the two parties come together, you'll get the opportunity to testify, like what happened with the Pololo Stream, Manoa Stream, etc. So this is at the start, or this is not even the start. We're at an infant, well, how would you say it? It's premature to talk about these type of things until we give them the authorization, but you'll get those reports of where they are with the federal and county. Does that alleviate your concerns about all these things?
Yeah, definitely.
Chair Waters, this is your district, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. What we're authorizing is the department to enter into a contract with the federal government to study the viability and feasibility of flood control, just the study. Once they come up with a recommendation, they still got to come back to us to fund it, right? Or the federal government to fund it. So at that point, if we don't like what they come up with, we can simply say, okay, we're not going to fund that, right? But at that point, they have to come back here, and I'm going to have them come to the neighborhood board and or the community association meetings and report back what they are proposing from this study. So I guess what zoning chair Say is saying is that it's still it hasn't even been studied yet, right? They don't know what to do, whether or not it's just putting back boulders on the side of the stream or cementing it. You know, and really, this is something that the community should be involved in and deciding what exactly we want to see happen. So I'll keep on top of it, and I'll keep you folks informed, and I'll get your email address just to keep you informed. But thank you guys for being here today.
Please come on up, John. Yeah, come on up. But before you continue your questioning to us or your concerns or comments.
The first question?
No, not the first question. The point that I have to make as a policy, you stated your first name. Can you state your last name for the record?
My first name is John Gospinetich.
Okay, that's it. That's all I need as far as being recorded.
I just wanted to make one more comment. You know, Mr. Waters brought up the fact that, you know, the stream bed needs to be maintained uphill, you know, going up the mountain there, because that's where all the problem was, you know, was all the debris, you know, trees and everything, you know, caused, you know, backups underneath the overpass. Because I know for sure that the neighbors on both sides of the stream on the downhill side did not get any flooding. There was no water coming over the, you know, the stream bed wall. And there was water on the houses to the town side of that, but the overpass, because of the ramp effect, you know, kept the water from coming into those properties there. So I just wanted to say that, you know, the state and the county really needs to keep up on that, which you're bringing up, and I agree with you that there needs to be funds to make sure that that is, you know, maintained on a regular basis.
Thank you very much, John. Madam Clerk, is there anyone else in the council chambers who would like to testify?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Members, we are in discussion. If there is, discussion, no? Okay. At this point in time, the chair will like to recommend that Resolution 24-204 be adopted. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Moving on to agenda number 3. Moving to agenda number 3, the Bill 39, 2024. This bill relates to building permits, which is requested by the DPP. We would remove certain requirements when submitting building permit applications. The bill would remove affidavit requirements stating that the applicant has a proprietary interest in a property when projects involve the demolition of a residential district. Remove affidavit requirements stating that the construction of a detached dwelling, duplex, or multi-family dwelling complies with applicable restrictive covenants, the land use ordinance, and the building, electrical, plumbing, and sidewalk codes. And 3, remove attestation requirements stating that the owner of the subject property has no outstanding fines payable or liens in favor of the city. Members, we have posted to the agenda proposed committee draft 1 version of the bill, and for your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda. As discussed at the committee's last meeting in July, the committee draft 1 consistently refers to contractors, subcontractors, and specialty contractors. At this time, we have Deputy Director Brian Gallagher. That's it.
Good morning, Council. My name is Brian Gallagher, Deputy Director for DPP. We have no opposition to this bill. We have no comments to add, but willing to take any questions or any follow-up.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, any questions for Mr. Gallagher? Okay, no questions. We'll now proceed on with the remote testimony. Madam Clerk?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you very much. Can we move on to in-person testimony? Oh, Ms. Angela Young, please. No? Okay, that's it. Members, we are in discussion. Since there are no discussion, the chair recommends that Bill 39, 2024 be amended to the committee draft 1 posted on the agenda. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, the bill has been amended to a committee draft 1. The chair then recommends that Bill 39 of 2024 committee draft 1 be reported out for passage on third reading. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Members, there is no further business. The meeting is adjourned. Have a nice afternoon.